Welcome to Field Trials, a future farming webcast exploring innovations, issues, and perspectives in new farm technology. This is Matt, your Canadian farm kid and journalist host. Thanks for tuning in. Will your next tractor have a cab? Well, it's hard to say. This episode of Field Trials features Ian McDonald, Crop Innovation Specialist for the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture. We discuss a variety of things, including why some developers have focused on designing cab-free autonomous equipment, why some haven't, transportation restrictions, and the significance of scale. All right. On that, Ian, something I wanted to chat about was you're also part of correct me if I got the name wrong here, but it's the Autonomous Working Group. So you work for the Ministry of Agriculture in the province. You work with some private partners and a lot of various other companies and things doing autonomy research in Ontario fields. Could you maybe just describe, because I think I'm kind of off in that description, could you just describe what the Autonomous Working Group is? And with respect to this discussion that we're having, if there's any particular areas of interest or initiatives that you're focused on looking at this issue.
So it's actually called the Ag Robotics Working Group, and it was formed about this time last year, and it includes several OMAFRA people, Haggerty Creek Robotics at Bothwell, several of the horticulture associations like fruit and veg growers, Holland Marsh growers, and various people. We meet on Friday mornings, almost every Friday morning, and we have created relationships with several robotics distributors from around the world, which has been really exciting to see them take an interest in what we're doing and say they want to come and work with us. Last year we had, I think it was about 5 robotic platforms that we worked with, and we did a little bit of research, but it was more demonstration, trying to get them out in front of farmers and understand what farmers' problems were that they were looking for a solution for. And this is one of the important reasons why we started the Ag Working Group is a lot of the technology that's coming out in this area, we haven't really heard from the OEMs and stuff like that yet. They know their stuff. They're doing it sort of still in-house yet. It's sort of the non-traditional ag robotics companies with people from different industry segments that have taken an interest in agriculture because of the robotics sort of startups. Those people need support. They need to understand what agriculture is because it's very different. Where has robotics really taken off in agriculture? In the dairy industry, in the greenhouse industry, places where there is significant dollars, 4 walls, the ability to individually identify each individual that you want to be able to have the robot interact with. That's very different than now going out into the outdoor landscape with soils and temperature and climate and field boundaries and ditches and all these different types of things, right? So we wanted to demonstrate, we wanted to connect, be a conduit to connect producers with problems to industry people that wanted to provide robotic or autonomous solutions. And the people that apply the solutions don't understand agriculture, right? So I'll just use an example of drones. Okay. So we worked with a couple of them on demonstrations last year, and yes, they could fly and they could go across the field and they could seed some cover crops and stuff like that. But every 7 minutes it had to come back and land, and you had to change the battery out, and you had to fill the unit, and then you had to put it back in the air. And so what's the difference in terms of logistical efficiency of that versus going out with a spinner spreader on a high boy sprayer rig and covering 100 feet at a time type of thing, right? And so one of the things that we're trying to do is, one, help these innovative companies understand that it's not just doing the job, it's what is the logistics that keeps that thing in the air or keeps it operating, doing the job. What is the solution or sorry, what is the problem that their solution is trying to address? And then third fold is all of the equipment that sits in the farmyard today waiting to go to the field to plant is not going away tomorrow. So if we bring the robotic stuff in the short term, and I don't even know what that term is. Is it 2 years? Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? The old and the new have to integrate. And so you've got these iterations of changing changing number of pieces of equipment in those two camps, the traditional and the robotic, and how do they work together to meet the needs of the farmer? And that's the part that really is intriguing to me. The other part that's really intriguing to me is the psychology, and I'm a science guy, and I remember a friend of mine in ag saying to me one time, if he had to do ag college again, he'd do psychology so he could understand how to reach people.
Yeah.
Because that is a big thing. When we went to the Holland Marsh and we went to different places and farmers came together, the different perspectives on what they were looking at and how it would integrate with their operations was extremely intriguing. And being able to engage them in those conversations helped them understand what problems they actually had that robotics might provide a solution for, and help the robotics people say, oh, now I understand what I need to build my robot to do. And so there's a lot of stuff there. And so we're actually just working on the draft of the concept of a hub, like a center of excellence, or a Communitech type of thing, where you got a question on ag robotics and agriculture, you come to the hub, and we have a network that we can hook you up with the right academics, the right financial people, the right business planning people, the right research people, the right farmers that can help you understand it, right? And we need to connect farmers to that, because here's sort of a terrible old example, but I'm driving the cultivator, open station cab, and I'm going along and I'm watching, and it starts to fill up with purslane because it's a lot of purslane in my field. And so I need to know when to get off and brush those purslanes off. This field's a little tacky, and so I need to keep changing the height all the time to not let the tires be slipping and stuff like that. And that's just something that we learn as kids and people working in agriculture. How do you take that out of my head and program it into a robot to be able to go across the landscape and do that same type of thing, right? And so the concept of the hub is to have this information flowing in like an octopus in all these directions to the areas that it needs to touch, in the hope of creating a better mousetrap. And what our emphasis here is, can we create this environment in Ontario and meet Ontario farmers' needs first, and then the robotics companies go off and sell it in California and Florida and all these other places, right? Because we're always the ones in the past that have been second, third, fourth fiddle to that. And we kind of have this opportunity because it's so, again, the Wild West and open and new. And we have some tremendous growers with some interesting problems, and companies can come in here and we can create this connection for them to all of these resources of dollars and intellect and manufacturing and all this type of thing, right? Kind of the goal.
That's that point's been raised to me many times, that not so much that and I assume it's partially just a market thing. Like California is just, they either have the capital or the farms or whatever that can kind of foster innovation in that. But where people will talk about a new implement and then we'll try and bring it to Ontario, or even some of the states like Michigan or Ohio or something like that, and they just won't work the same. And then that's kind of where they stop, right? Yep. So it's kind of interesting, but taking the localized art and transforming it into some sort of workable AI code, I suppose.
Well, and even the engineering side of it, right? Like we had a company that we had in the Marsh last year, and they've sort of re-engineered the layout of their platform to better fit in the systems that the muck growers use, type of thing, right? They were off in terms of track width and stuff like that. That was going to make it awkward for integration. And so we encouraged them that it needed to be flexible. It needed to be able to get wider or narrower depending on the crop and the platform and such like that. So it's creating that network. Like, I'm the OMAC for crop innovation specialist as well. I'm no expert. Today, I don't think we can be experts. There's just too much. And so what do? You create a network to bring people with great ideas and lots of experience together to work towards a common solution that, various people can share in.
Awesome. Well, that's a pretty good conclusion, Ian. I think we can end her there, and we'll let you go.
Very good. Pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks very much. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I hope you got something out of the conversation. As ever, the idea is to explore topics, items, and perspectives in the ag tech space. So if you're interested in sharing your own perspective and joining us for a conversation, feel free to get in touch with the Future Farming team at futurefarming.com. You can also reach me directly at FurRural on Twitter. That's at FERRURAL on Twitter, or via ruralphilosopher.com. Thanks again for listening.